How to use if function in Excel with two practical examples. We're gonna see here how to use the if function alone and how to use the if function inside another if function. We can call it nested if function. And also we're gonna see how can we use the if function if another logical functions like AND function and OR function. So let's start with this first example right here where I have a sales spreadsheet of the first month of the year, and every time the sales revenue is, in this case, greater than 1,000, I need to check, to mark, to, let's say, to flag a good in the cell. To make that, yes, I can check manually if the value is above 1,000. Row by row, I can check it manually. But man, look, if I make it manually, row by row, it's gonna take me a long time till the cows come run. So a smart way to make that is using the if function. The if function can help me to solve this problem. So let's make it in this first example. Let me just click in the cell right here, and then I'm gonna press the equal sign, and then I'm gonna type in if. I'm gonna select the if function, if double clicked, 1, 2, okay. Now what is our logical test? Our logical test is if the sales revenue is greater, I can use this symbol right here, okay, greater. If it's greater than 1,000, so I just type the 1,000 number, comma. What is the value if it's true? Okay, so if it's true, I'm gonna type it good. However, it's vital to put the word good inside the quotations, okay? So open quotation, good, and then I go close quotations. Now I'm gonna close parentheses, and then I'm gonna press enter. Okay, it's returned for me the false word because yes, it's right. 400 is not greater than 1,000. I can click in the cell, click, hold and drag down, and let's check if everything is working good. Yes, look that these two results they are greater than 1,000, so it's working good. Here is right, here is right, right. Everything is right. However, let's say I don't want to use 1,000 anymore. I want to use, let's say, 1,200 for the reference value. I can change the value here inside 1,200. Okay, now I can click, hold, and drag down, and everything is gonna work. However, it's taking me some seconds to make that change. A smart way to make that is to use an external reference. So instead of I type the 1,200 value inside the if function, I can use a cell that is out the if function. So let's say here in the cell C1, I just type 1,200. I'm gonna press enter, and then I'm gonna open the if function right here. And instead of I just type 1,200, I'm gonna delete it, and then I'm gonna select the cell C1. So this way is a smart way to use the if function when you use a value of reference, because every time I change this value right here, the if function is gonna recalculate it the result, okay? So let me press enter right here, and now I'm gonna click, hold, and drag down, and let's see what's gonna happen. Okay, so it looks like something is not working that well, because look, 1,500 is greater than 1,200. So why happen this false value right here? It's because look, if I open the if function, the reference we selected before, the C1, now is C2. This happened because every time we click, hold, and drag down a cell, a formula, a function in Excel, everything's dragged out with the formula. So we lost our reference. To lock, to freeze the cell, the reference, we can use the dollar sign. So let's say here in the C1 cell, I always need the C1 cell to be the reference. To lock the reference, I can use the dollar sign. However, instead of type the dollar sign one by one, I can just select all the C1 cell right here, and then I'm gonna press F4 key. I just press F4 key in the keyboard. Now, as you guys can see, I just add a dollar sign before the C letter and before the number. That is good. So I'm gonna press enter. Now I'm gonna select the cell. I'm gonna click, hold, and drag down. Yes, now everything is working fine. Whenever the number is greater than 1,200, the result is good. Everything is working out. So let's make the second example right here. And yes, now we're gonna need to use the if function inside the if function. We're gonna call it a nested if function. Okay, so here we have more criterias. So whenever you have more than just one condition, you can use the if function inside the if function. And also we can, let's say we can change something here. The if function allows us to make the value if it's true and to type the value if it's false. So as you guys saw before, whenever the result is not true, it's returned, or I want to say, whenever the result is not good, it's returned false, okay? Because the false is the condition was not true. So instead of just let the function if return false, I can comma, I can type comma, and then I want the if function to return, let's say, just not good, for example. So in the value, if it's false, I'm gonna type it not good. It's important, it's vital to type it in quotations. I'm gonna press enter. Now I'm gonna click, hold and drag down. Okay, so we change the false to not good. Now let's say I want to make this second example right here, and always that the value is greater than 1000, it's good. When the value is below 1000, it's okay. However, if the value is below 500, it's bad. We can do it, make the if function, the nested if function, the if function inside the if function. So equal sign, if, I just select the if function right here, or I can just select the if the S in the final letter here, ifs. It's the same thing. However, many Excel versions do not have yet this function, ifs. So we're gonna make it in an old school way, okay? So if function inside the function. Let me select if the double click. What is our logical test? So my first logical test is this first one right here. If the value is greater than 1000, so it's good. So let's tell Excel that. So if the sales revenue here is greater than 1000, comma, what is the value if it's true? The value is open quotations, good, and then close quotations, comma. Now I just have one condition left if the value is false. However, I have two more conditions to put in the if function. If it's when it's okay and when it's bad. So to make that, we can use the if function inside the if function. So let me type here if, and then I'm gonna select, if double click, the if function. What is our next logical test here? If this sales revenue right here, it's let's say below 500, I'm gonna type in bad. So comma, open quotations, bad, and close quotations. Now guys, I just finished to put the conditions, because look, if the value is greater than 1000, the value is good. If the value is is less than 500, the value is bad. However, if the value is not greater than 1000 and is not less than 500, it can only be okay. It can only be in the middle, okay? So, comma, and then I'm gonna open quotations and I'm gonna type it okay. I'm gonna close parentheses 2 times and I'm gonna press enter. So yeah, the first value here is bad. If I click, hold and drag down, I can see all the results. This one here is gonna be okay because it's 597. So let me click, hold and drag down. Look, everything is working. I can click, hold and drag to the end of the spreadsheet. Now we finish our first practical example. So now we know how to use the if function alone, and we also know how to use the if function inside the if function. And also we just learned how to use the F4 key to lock the reference to make it dynamic or not, to freeze the reference. Okay, so in the second practical example right here, I just gonna use the if function and another logical function such as AND function and OR function. So you're gonna use the AND function inside the if function, and we're gonna use also the OR function inside the if function. This spreadsheet is very similar if the practical example we just finished before. However, here we have one more column, that is the department. So instead of just have one column to check if the condition is true or false, we have here another column that we need to use in the if, the department. So let's say here in the first example of the second practical example, we have here if the sales is greater than 500. Okay, this is simple. We already know how to make that. However, look, we have another condition, or the department is toys and games, the status is good. So let's make it first manually. Let's just check where it's true and where it's false, just to understand how to use the function in this case, in this scenario right here. So if the sale is greater than 500, here is greater than 500. No. However, the department is toys and games, so the status is good. Look, the department, yeah, the department is toys and games. So I can type here good, okay? So let's make it equal if function, double click it, 1, 2, okay. What is our logical test? So here is there is where we need to insert the OR function, okay? Because OR, the value can be greater than 500, or the department can be toys and games. So yeah, our logical test has two conditions, or it can be one, or it can be the second one, okay? So let me type here the OR function. I just want to double click it, 1, 2, okay. What is the first logical? If this sale is greater than 500, okay, 500, comma. The second logical test is if this department right here in the first row is equal to, open quotations, toys and games, close quotations, then we can finish our if function, okay. Now we finish, just finish our OR function. I can close parentheses and then I'm gonna press comma, because our logical test is already done. If the sales is greater than 500, or the cell of the department, the first row, is equal to toys and games. If this is true, I need to type it good, okay. So open quotations, then I'm gonna type good, and then I'm gonna close quotations, comma. If the condition is false, I don't want to the if function type anything, so I'm gonna open and close quotations, close parentheses, and then I'm gonna press enter. Okay, so the first row here we get good. Now I'm gonna click, hold, and drag down. Look, we almost have good for every result, for every row. However, there is in certain cases that we just get a blank spot. Let's see if everything is right. So here, if the sale is greater than 500, here I have the sales greater than 500. Yes, so it's good. Okay, here, okay, we have the sale and toys and games. The both conditions are true. So yes, we have a good in the result. However, here in this fourth row, I have the sales that is less than 500, so it's not a true condition. And also the department is not toys and games. So yeah, here we have a blank spot. Let's make now this second column or final example. If the sales is greater than 1,000 and the department is computer, the status is bad. Let's make it. So instead of use now the logical function or, we can use the logical function and. And or is different because when we use the or this condition is true, or the second one is true. However, when you use and, the both conditions need to be true, okay? So it's a little bit more specific. The both condition needs to be true. Equal sign if, I double click it to select what is our logical test. So let me type here and double click it, 1, 2, okay. So the first logical we need is if the sales is greater than 1,000, comma, and the department is equal to computer, equal to, open quotations, computer, and then close quotations. Now, yeah, we finished. We just need to put the two logicals, and then I'm gonna close parentheses. Oh, I just forgot to put the S in the final, okay? Computers. Okay, now I'm gonna press comma. If the value is true, I need to type bad, open quotations, bad, close quotations, comma. And if the value is false, if all these conditions is false, I want to type nothing. I want a blank spot. So I'm gonna open and close quotations mark. I'm gonna close parentheses and I'm gonna press enter. So I'm gonna click here in the cell, click, hold and drag down. Okay. Now I can see that this, for example, need to the two conditions, the department and the sales revenue, need to be true to the status appears. So here I have a bad because the sales value is greater than 1,000 and also the department is equal to computer. So let's make a little change here. In this third row, I have the toys and games for the department, and I have a value that is greater than 1,000. So if I change the department to computer, we need to get a bad for the result. So let me just change the toys and games for computers, and then I'm gonna press enter. Yeah, everything is working. So I got here the result bad because now the two conditions are true. I hope guys this video can help you, and we just learned how to make the if function alone, how to make the if function inside the if function, that is called the nested if function, and also we just learned how can we use the if function, the AND function inside the if function and the OR function inside the if function. And we also learned how to use lock reference. And if you have any questions, just comment in the comment section below, okay? I hope you guys enjoyed this video and I see you in the next one.